Welcome everyone to the first video of the Arts Council website. I've already created the site. Please see the initial video on how to create the Arts Council site on the GoBerry, which is what you're going to be using if you haven't done so already. So basically what this module is about, this project is about, is you have a client uh, and it's a director of a nonprofit guild. I'm not really sure why that's so important, but and it's sponsored by the city government. So here is some information that really doesn't helpful, but it's there for you to hopefully make it a little bit more realistic in the real world. So your job is to implement the client's new website design based upon the approved design that was created in a Photoshop file. Now let me talk about that for a second. You have to have a licensed version of Adobe Photoshop in order for you to use part of the project here, the Photoshop comp. When we get to that part, we're going to do an alternative file, which is going to give you instructions on how to do it without the actual Photoshop comp file. If you have it, you can use the Photoshop comp file and the instructions in the book. But if you're using the GoBerry website, you will not be able to do that. So you'll use the alternative. So I will be making a video on the alternative, assuming that the majority of everyone has the GoBerry one version over here. So in this project, you're going to incorporate the following skills. So you're going to use different methods to add static images to a web page. They all do the same thing. Which one you use is really up to you. I don't have a preference. It just depends where I am, what I'm doing, whether I'm in design mode, whether I'm in live mode, as to which one I use. Same thing with making hyperlinks. Sometimes I drag and drop. Sometimes I point to file. Sometimes I browse. So it all depends upon what I feel like doing. You're also going to be able to manipulate images in a file. You're going to be able to resize it, resample it, and commit the changes in there. We're not going to do the extracting the content, but we will be working with CSS that's going to define various elements properties. So sit back and relax, and we're going to start. In here, I am actually on page 109. Please read 108, the project meeting, and the things that you're going to be needing to do it. So first thing I'm going to do is just a little bit about images. So we're going to be dealing with basically 3 images and in some cases a 4th one. But GIF and JPEGs are the ones that you normally deal with. So GIF has advantages over JPEG, in meaning that it can have transparency. JPEG is the standard, so unless you need to have something transparent, in most cases you're going to be using JPEGs. Then there is a PNG, which also allows you to have transparency. You're going to see that. What that is, you have the background will be all white if you have a JPEG, where in a PNG you can make the background transparent as if it really wasn't there. And then you have SVG, scalable vector graphics, and they're just defined lines called vectors in there. So we don't have to worry too much about that right now. We'll get more into it as we later on over here. So we have a project over here that I've created called the Arts Council. And remember, I'm labeling them differently as I am working on my home computer as well. So we don't have to worry about that. So I'm going to open up, the very first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to open up the index file. Now, I do want to talk about this PSD file right here first. That is a Photoshop file. So we talked about cloaking. So let's go into Edit and Preferences in here. And let's see if we have cloaking enabled in here. So actually, I'm sorry, I'm in the wrong one. I got so excited. We're going to manage the site. We're going to open this one up here. And we're going to go to advanced. And we're going to turn on cloaking. Okay, we're going to now cloak files ending with FLA, PSD. As soon as I click on save, and the site's going to be recached. Let me click on done. And notice now the slash goes in here. That's done for you automatically. That means if you synchronize the site automatically, that file will not be included in your upload. And that's really what you want. If you want to manually upload it for some reason for backup purposes, then of course you can do that. So let me open up the index. I also want to talk about the fact that styles is not an own directory or folder, whatever you prefer calling it. And this calc site PSD, it also should be in its own directory. As we talked about last time, the only thing you should have in your root directory is the index file and maybe a backup of the index file. It's usually a very good idea to make a backup of the index file, because if you're working on it and then all of a sudden something happens and you make a lot of mistakes and you can't find out what you did, or you deleted a bunch of stuff and undo doesn't work, or you saved it, then you're going to have to recreate the whole thing from scratch. So the easiest way to do it, and there's different ways in here, you can copy and paste it, but let me just show you a different way. Let's go to edit and let's click on duplicate or Control D. And now we have a copy of it to go back to. So what I usually do is rename it, and I'm going to get rid of the copy, and I'm just going to call it Orig. And then as I continue working on my index, I will duplicate it, and just instead of calling it Orig, I will rename it as the date. Today is August the 6th, so if I were to redo it again, I would just name it index. And I usually use the year first, so I would go 200806 in there. All right, so now we are going to open up the actual file itself, finally. And notice that we have all this gray stuff. We don't have anything exciting in here at all. So I'm going to try to go through this as quickly as I can. So we are going to go into split. And I believe I'm going to end this video right now to make it short, because we have a lot of work to do, and we'll pick up on inserting the images in the second video over here. So look forward to seeing you, and hope this introduction has helped you.